Hi, fourth graders. This is our lesson on compare and contrast. Do you know what these two words mean? Well, compare means to tell how two or more things are alike. And contrast means to tell how two or more things are different. Please be sure to write on your notes-taking page, alike for compare and different for contrast. We compare and contrast on a daily basis as we make decisions. In fact, I just did both today when I selected a book to check out from the library. I had book A and I had book B. Both books are science fiction. And science fiction is actually my favorite genre. Book A is 212 pages, while book B is 486 pages. I think I might not have the stamina for a book more than 212 pages long. And book A was recommended by a friend, and book B's cover looks interesting. After comparing and contrasting the two books, I've decided to check out book A this time. Let's circle the comparison statement. Well, both books are science fiction. Both tells me that it's a comparison because both A and B have the same quality, which is that they are science fiction. Now let's compare and contrast basketball and soccer. First, let's compare. How are basketball and soccer alike? These are a few similarities that come to my mind. Both sports use round balls. Dribbling is a skill used in both sports. And referees are used in both sports to enforce the rules. So on my notes-taking page under How Are They Alike, I'm going to put both use round balls, dribbling is a skill used, and referees in both sports. Now let's contrast. How are basketball and soccer different? Well, in soccer, you dribble with your feet. In basketball, you dribble with your hands. Soccer is played on a field, while basketball is played on a court. In soccer, someone guards the goal, but in basketball, no one is allowed to guard the basket. So on my notes-taking page under How Are They Different, I'll write soccer dribble with feet, basketball dribble with hands. Soccer plays on a field, basketball plays on a court. Soccer, you have a goalie. Basketball, you cannot guard the basket. And you may notice that I haven't used complete sentences here. I've just put bullet points of the key things that I am comparing and contrasting between basketball and soccer. So readers compare and contrast as they read. You can compare and contrast many elements within a text. You can compare and contrast characters, settings, or events. In school, there are times when students are asked to read a passage and then write a written response in which they compare and contrast certain elements. So we're going to practice this skill today. Read the following passage, compare and contrast the two characters, plan an explanatory essay that tells how the two characters are alike and how they are different. Then write an essay using details from the text to support your statements. We're going to underline the 3 key steps that are outlined in the directions. First, it's to read, then we need to plan, and then we need to write. Let's go. So first, we need to read the passage. Laura and Brandon were playing a board game while their mom watched the news. "It's your turn," Laura told her twin brother. "Just a second. I want to watch this," said Brandon. The children paused their game and listened as the news reporter described a horrific tornado that destroyed a town the day before. The news segment was full of images of devastated homeowners walking through the wreckage that was once their homes. At the end of the story, a website was listed for people who wanted to make a donation to help the families affected. "How sad," said Brandon. "Mom, I want to send some money to help those people, but I only have $2. The yard is full of leaves that need to be raked. I will pay you to rake them up," said Mom. "Okay." Brandon thought for a moment. "Is it okay if I go around and ask the neighbors if they want me to take their leaves? To rake their leaves? I'd be sure to mention that I'm going to send the money I earn to help the people who lost their homes to the tornado." "I think that's a wonderful idea," Mom exclaimed. "Do you want to help, Laura?" asked Brandon. "Nope. Raking is too exhausting. And we're just kids. The small amount of money we would earn wouldn't help them much anyway. Besides, I'm saving my money for a new shirt. Any money I earn is going to go towards that," Laura answered. "Now, let's get back to our game." So what was the second step? We underlined plan. We need to plan our essay, finding how the two characters are alike and how they are different. Let's reread that entire sentence to determine exactly what we are expected to plan. It says, plan an explanatory essay that tells how the two characters are alike and how they are different. So note, when comparing and contrasting characters, we need to avoid unimportant facts like the same teacher, or one has brown hair and one has blonde hair. We want to look for character traits, experiences, and perspectives that could be included. A Venn diagram is a helpful planning tool when comparing and contrasting. It is simple to draw. We just draw two overlapping circles. We write the two topics you are going to contrast at the top of the two circles. For this essay, we will contrast two characters, Brandon and Laura. Please be sure to write this in on your notes-taking page. Let's list ways they are the same in the overlapping section. That's the part in the middle. And then we'll list ways that they are different in the other two sections. We do not need to write complete sentences. We can use bullets and write key phrases. So Brandon and Laura are the same age. So remember, it said they were twins. They both like to play board games because that's what they were doing at the beginning of the passage. Now let's find out how they're different. Well, these are two character traits. Brandon, we can tell, is very compassionate because he wants to help the people who lost their homes in the tornado. And Laura's a little bit more self-centered. She's only thinking about saving her money to buy herself a new shirt. Brandon is hardworking. He asks his mom what he can do when she tells him to rake the leaves in the garden. He then thinks he can do it for everyone in the neighborhood. And Laura says that raking leaves is too exhausting. So we're giving her a character trait of lazy. And then Brandon has a belief that kids can make a difference. He feels like what he can do, even though it might not be a great amount of money, it's still helpful. But Laura believes kids are too young to help, that whatever little bit of money they make won't make a difference. So now our third step is to write our essay. We're going to write an essay using details from the text to support your statements. We need to consider using some of these transition words when writing a compare and contrast essay. Comparing words can be as well as, also, to, similar, both. Contrasting words can be however, in contrast, on the other hand, while, though, although, whereas, but, or yet. So this is our Venn diagram that we've created with where we compared and contrasted Brandon and Laura. We want to cross out any ideas that seem unimportant to the overall essay. And really, that they like to play board games isn't an important detail. And so this is what we are going to write. Even though Brandon and Laura are the same age, they have very different attitudes and traits. First, Brandon is compassionate and wants to help others in need, while Laura is self-centered. After watching a news report about a destructive tornado, Brandon is eager to earn money to help the people who lost houses. Laura, on the other hand, wants to keep her money so she can buy a shirt. Secondly, Brandon is hardworking, while Laura is lazy. Brandon volunteers to rake his mom's yard and even decides to rake for his neighbors. In contrast, Laura thinks raking is too exhausting. Finally, Brandon believes that he and other kids can make a difference by helping those in need. Laura believes the opposite. I know this because she said, "We're just kids. The small amount of money we would earn wouldn't help them anyway." Clearly, Brandon and Laura are very different kids. So here we have in colors to help show us what part of the Venn diagram was used to write the essay. This first part is the comparison. Brandon and Laura are the same age. Then we have the sentences here in blue that are the first difference, explaining the character traits of Laura and Brandon. Then we have the second differences that we were pointing out to contrast Brandon and Laura, hardworking versus lazy. And then we have the last one here in pink, where Brandon's beliefs and Laura's beliefs and how they're different are expressed in our passage. Let's also notice that the topic sentence, the first sentence in green, and the conclusion sentence, the last sentence in red, are fairly similar. They start out by telling us what the passage or essay is about, and the conclusion ties it all together in the end. So let's circle any compare and contrast signal words. We've got even though, the same, different, while, on the other hand, while again, in contrast, and different. So these are those words that signal we've got comparison and contrast. A well-written essay contains transition words. Let's underline those. First, secondly, finally, clearly.